Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast. Another business leader, here's a penny for your thoughts. This ain't a regular conversation, baby. This that Dealer Talk. Yeah.
What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. You know, it feels like a new season for me. I feel like I haven't recorded in a minute. Charity's been doing all the recording.
You haven't recorded in a minute. It feels weird to be on here with you.
So, what's going on, kid? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Glad that it's starting to warm up.
Well, there you go. Something to look forward to. What? How's it been? How's it been doing the podcast by yourself? Do you like it? Do you enjoy it?
I like learning. I enjoy doing the podcast with you because you're just fun to argue with.
But I'm retiring from the podcast, remember?
No, you're not. Stop
now
saying
that. We're going to do some cool stuff for season 9. We're going to take a long break, and then we're going to do some cool stuff for season 9. I'm excited.
Is it going to be season 9, or are you going to let me do season 9 all by myself?
Well, I mean, if you want to do it by yourself, go for it. Then I'll be back in season 10. I'll probably take the rest of this year, honestly, and then come back in 2024. But we're going to do things different.
I'll probably, and then it went dead. So say that again.
I said we'll probably do. I'm probably going to take the rest of the year off from the podcast in general, and then we'll come back in 2024. So if you want to do a season in between that, by all means, do your thing. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I know. I've been thinking about it, but you already know that.
Yeah, but we got a couple good sessions left. We're going to have Mr. Sigler back on the show in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited to have a conversation with him. And then I forget what's the name of his podcast? The Automotive Architect, right? Ron? I can't pronounce his last name.
And then the frickin' tech people.
So I'm excited for that. And then we're going to have I think it's the founder or the CEO or founder and CEO of Freakin' Tech.
Frickin'.
So we got a couple more here before we wrap up. So anyway, but today we have an amazing guest, a fantastic
and a repeat guest.
A repeat guest that I didn't get a chance to talk to, so I'm excited to do this one with him. Yeah.
It was my first one that I ever did on my own.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So, but Terry Mac, right? He's a super cool dude. I like the way he thinks. He's funny, and he's got tons of experience, man. I've been doing this for a minute, so I appreciate the knowledge. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? So, you want to talk about my
whatever? Don't shout at me. We're having a conversation.
Am I shouting?
Relax.
Shut up. I'm not trying to shout. Hello. Okay. Do you want to talk about...
And my beard, look at that. I'm getting old, man. It's like there's only like black in this section here. Everything else is white. Dang. I don't know. But I'm not going to color it.
I'm kind of at like that point where I'm like, do I color my hair or do I let it...
No.
See, as a guy, when you just look like you have salt and pepper hair, and it's supposed to be like handsome and attractive. Even like who was that guy that played James Bond and
Daniel Craig?
No, way back when.
Sean Connery.
Guy. Yeah. Even when he had like gray hair, he was all. But women, you have gray hair and you just look like an old lady, unless you like can rock it.
No, I don't think that's true.
I'm totally planning to rock it supermodel style.
There you go. Like I think if it's the way that you carry it, right? It's the confidence level that you have in it. You know, like some people pull that shit off. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
We can
Give it a year or
we can
two.
do a drinking game with the podcast. Every time Herb says, you know what I mean, you take a shot.
I have
You'd
like
be
one beer in my
freaking
house.
drunk off your ass by the time the podcast is over.
We should totally do a drunk podcast with Terry.
Oh, that's a good idea. That would be fun.
I have like 2 beers in my house.
I have some beers here.
Well,
It's too early though. I don't think that, but that's a good idea.
Not for me. We should ask him. Let's do it.
Let's see if he has beer, and we'll start to drink alcohol, the 3 of us, while we're podcasting.
Mm-hmm. That sounds fun. Terry would totally be down for that.
All right, let's ask her when he jumps on and see.
Okay.
I don't know, folks. This might get interesting and weird all at the same time. So anyway, what's going on? What's going on in the automotive world? What's happening? Do you have any news, anecdotes, or concerns, preoccupations, questions?
Questions, comments, concerns? Hey, I saw an article this morning. Have I ever told you my weird thing about this morning?
No.
So when I was a little kid, I grew up, and my parents are from the Northwest, and so they have like a couple of weird, quirky little accent things that they do. Like they put R's into wash their dishes. And the other one is smorning. So when I was a kid, I thought that it was the THE smorning, SMORNING. And I still, every time I say this morning, it's like an accent thing that I hate about myself. Smorning.
Anyways,
shut up.
I'm sorry, folks. You had to hear that. I apologize in advance.
Shut up. In advance, it's afterward, and they all know that I like.
No, I apologize in advance because this, it's going to continue to happen. So,
that I just tell stories randomly all the time. It's how I connect with the listener, Herbert.
Right.
It was talking about how, I can't find the article now, but it was talking about how the customer experience and the customer reviews on service at dealerships has been steadily decreasing over the last couple of years. And
decreasing, and as in they're getting negative, or the people are just not entering?
As in they're getting more negative.
Yeah, but I think that's a sign of the times.
Less satisfied. And the article was talking about, it was an automotive news article, but it was talking about how non-dealership service centers are better equipped for customer service.
That's not true at all. That's the biggest misconception. That's almost as big as a misconception as it's cheaper somewhere else other than the dealership. Like those two things are the biggest, like whoever says that stuff hasn't thought that through. So let's break that down. What is the experience that you can expect as a customer? What would you define as an experience if you're servicing your vehicle? Tell me 2 or 3 things that you would want to receive as a customer. So put your customer hat on. Tell me 3 things that you would want to receive that would be like, wow, this is a good experience when you're servicing your car.
A good price.
Okay.
But
that's not a customer experience. Anybody can do that. So I'm going to veto that. No, give me other things.
I'm resisting the urge to tell a story. I hate when they do the thing where they give you like 5 other things that you could do to improve your car while you're there. And all of a sudden the price of your oil change goes up and up and up and up.
But that's not an experience. And that's anybody, like you're getting your car serviced. If they're recommended things to do to a car, the point of the service advisor is to advise you. It's to advise you on how to take better care of your car.
Okay, so I will say that whenever I've taken my car, so my experience is that I took my car to get the oil changed outside of the dealerships for the first time in, I kid you not, a decade last month. And first of all, that was stupidly expensive, and I didn't like the experience at all. Like, it was very much
Right, but I want to get to that, but just I want to go down this path because I want to prove a point. Just give
okay.
me 3 things that if you go to service your car, give me 3 things that this is a good experience.
I want it to be fast.
Okay.
I want it to not feel like I'm getting finagled into things that I don't need.
But that's not an experience. Like,
That's a
I'm
total
talking about amenities,
thing.
how the place looks, shuttle.
I want it to be comfortable and not feel like a man zone.
Okay, what else? So there's 2.
Well, I mean, there was like
fast,
5, but okay.
And you want an environment that's more
comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable. Okay, what else? Give me another one.
One more?
Convenience. You don't have to wait.
Driving
pick you up, drop you off.
I hate driving into the drive. I want to be able to park next to the drive, walk in, and let them drive it into the damn garage.
Give me something else.
Oh my God! Just you pick it. Just,
those are not things. Those are not.
I've literally given you like 5 things.
But those things don't enhance the experience.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I am not your target audience here.
Just give me one more.
Time.
Okay, perfect. So you want it to be. You said, well, you already said you want it to be fast. So you already said time. So you want it to be fast, and you want the environment to be more comfortable.
I want it to be cheap.
And you want it to be affordable.
Cost affordable.
Okay. So let's break that down. If you go to a dealership, it's not going to be more expensive, unless you're taking it to a place it's not giving you apples to apples. If you're comparing apples to apples, you're gonna get a better deal typically. Number one, if it's within the first 2 years, it's probably going to be covered under some sort of warranty. Number two, you're going to have certified technicians of that brand that are going to be looking at the car, and they can pinpoint things to prevent other things to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. Number three, you're going to get the right oil with the right filter and the right, or the right tires for that car with the right speed rating. All those things are going to match exactly to the manufacturer specifications. So in turn, if you take it to the dealership, not only are you going to get a similar price as what's on the market if you're comparing apples to apples, right? If your car takes a 5,000 or 10,000 oil change and you put 3,000 miles, right, non-synthetic or something like that, yeah, you're probably going to save some bucks, but is it really going to save you money? What if it damages the engine? What if it, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these variables that people don't take into consideration. So by taking it to the dealership, it is cheaper. As far as convenience, it can definitely be quicker at the dealership. The problem is that people don't schedule appointments. And the problem also on the dealership side is that they try to squeeze people in, and that messes everything up. But if the dealership holds to their appointment schedule and the customer is trained to set their appointments, then it's definitely faster. Not only that, but they can take you. They have a shuttle. They can take you. They can drop you off. You're not going to get that stuff at, Grease Monkey or Pep Boys. Typically, you got to go and, some of them do offer that stuff. I'm not going to say that they don't, but the majority of them are not going to offer that.
You have to sit there.
You're going to have to go there, sit there.
It's uncomfortable and smelly. And
that's the other thing. You talked about the environment, right? You want it to be comfortable. You're going to tell me that the environment at a Grease Monkey is better than the environment at a car dealership.
I don't think that anything. I think that the dealerships are a way better experience. Absolutely. The article.
Right, but I'm just that's just the fact that people think that they're going to get a better experience at an independent is freaking asinine. It's ludicrous. It makes 0 sense. So here's the thing.
Do you think that independent service drives, is that what we call them? Independent repair shops? Do you think that they propagate the stereotypes that service guys are shady?
No, I think that's an industry thing. Like, it happens at dealers and it happens at mom and pops, and the problem is diagnosing. That's the issue when it comes to servicing your car. There's a lot of technicians that misdiagnose cars, right? Or they don't really understand what the problem is with the vehicle, and they make repairs, and it's not really, they make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of that in the industry. The other thing that happens too is just coincidence happen too. You fix this and that other thing breaks. And they're not directly correlated, but it happens. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you're talking about a machine. And after certain usage on any machine, the propensity for it to break down is going to increase. That's just common sense. And it depends on your driving habits. If you're a stop and go driver with 100,000 miles on your car and you're in the city and you're braking all the time, and that's going to be significantly more impactful and detrimental to the health of your vehicle than if you're driving long distances, you're barely braking, your car's constantly in motion. All these, you got to take all that stuff into consideration. And consumers don't do that. Consumers want their car to never break down. They want to take it to the place of repair, and they want it to be super cheap, and they want to never have to put any money into their vehicle. And that's just ridiculous, especially if you don't maintain your car appropriately, right? If you're not doing the things that people get pissed off because dealerships recommend, if you don't do those things, then, you know, guess what? At the long run of your vehicle, you're going to be in a worse situation when it comes to repairs later on. You're pretty much pushing the expense into the future, is what most customers do. Oh, no, I don't want to do that right now. Like, I'll do it later. Okay, and then later comes, and then later is more expensive. And then later comes, and then there's that you push to the future, plus new shit that's going to break, or, you know, there's going to need some repairing. So I don't know. That one to me is just crazy. It's crazy talk.
You were very passionate about that one.
Yeah, because I remember when I was managing, like people are just don't get it. Like, what do you expect, man? Like that's why, you know, I always tell the story to other managers. Like, I just remember that Monday driving to the shop, and I just kept driving. I was like, I just can't do this anymore.
Whoa, I've never heard this story.
Yeah. So I was going into work one day. It was a Monday morning, and I passed by the shop, and I just kept going. I was like, nope, I'm out. I just could not. Yeah, I could not do it. The brain damage. I mean, I just could not do it. Not a single second more. It's like it's a constant losing battle and the manager of a dealership operation they're only putting out fires every day, all day. It's constant. It never ends. And customers don't appreciate. The more you try to help somebody, the worse it is for you. Like, the more you try to help people, the consumer, the more they complain. It's crazy. Like, you know, I stopped doing car washes because it's like, you get a car wash and it's like, oh, you scratched my car. Now you got to paint the whole thing. And it's like, dude, that scratch was there, man. Like, why not even wash your car for? You know, oh, the popcorn is cold. And you get these stupid reviews on your CSI score. It's like, dude, seriously? That's the thing. Like, I picked you up 200 miles away, brought you here, gave you a deal, and you're going to complain. You're going to give me a shitty score because the popcorn was cold. When you're doing it constantly, it's hard not to become cynical or jaded, or however you want to look at it. It's hard not to.
For sure.
You know
when
what I mean?
You work in any kind of customer service, it's hard not to become cynical. And so there's this statistic that says that the majority of people in sales are introverts. And I've always thought that was just because introverts were better at reading people. But then the longer I'm in sales, I think maybe we're just all introverts because we're so sick of people.
No, you know what it is? You know what it is? The majority of people that end up in sales don't end up in sales because they want to. They end up in sales because they have to. That's the difference when it comes to that. That's my personal opinion, but
the people that have to are all introverts, or we're just all
because they're naturally introverted, and that's why they have to sell,
because there's nothing else that they can do, which is ironic since sales is such a.
But think, what are the characteristics of an introvert?
Introvert
or an introvert person?
Well,
they're going to be go-getters and, like put themselves out there, and
they're quiet. They get their energy off of just being alone. They can read a room really well. I think cynical.
Yes.
I'm an introvert. Not all introverts are cynical. To all my introvert friends out there.
The cool thing.
But then if you think about it, like you look at the way that everybody that that's in the sales world, everybody's really social. And do we really hang out with each other after work, or do we all go home and just like
No, but that's a persona.
hide?
Well, I shouldn't say that. Like that was me when I was selling. Like you have a sales persona.
Mm-hmm.
It's not who you are all the time. You know what I mean?
And I've said that before, like Beyonce.
And I got lucky. Yeah, there you go. Shot.
There you
I
go.
got lucky. I got lucky because I like the car business, and I ended up having passion for it, and I like talking about it, and I'm very curious about it. But if I was selling, I don't know, like software or some other stuff, like, I'd probably suck at it really, really bad because I don't have the personality and I don't have the passion or the desire for the product. So, it's just, if you can connect, if you're an introvert, because there's great salespeople that are introvert, but if you can connect that to a passion or something, if you can connect the sales role with something that you're passionate about, I think that's a winning combination.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and there's a lot of things that can be learned. Like we've had this conversation before, but I'm not a big believer in, closing, the closer manual to success or closing cards or all that stuff. To me seems like trickery, and I'm not a fan of that. I like I'm a believer in the
human experience.
No, not so much that, but the discovery,
Mm-hmm.
discover the need and then try to fill it. And if you can't fill it, move on because you have nothing to sell. Right. I had a conversation this morning with a developer that, pretty much was like, hey man, I don't think that this project I don't want to take it on because I don't want to take your money. And I don't think that this is something that, that would be advantageous for you. And I appreciated that. Like, hey, this guy at least is being honest, right? When we talked for at least an hour before he told me that, so he listened attentively, asked good questions, and so those things. I think that's a better selling method than, if I can, would you, like that whole thing? I'm not a believer in that.
Terry's in the lobby.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay. Will those things work? I'm not saying that they won't work, but they're also going to create buyer's remorse and all other kinds of things that I'm just not.
Yes and no. Like, and maybe that's just because you've had people under you that you were trying to get to sell product too. So you've got to teach them how to do certain things and not just.
That's the first time we added somebody into the lobby and they got up
and then they walked away. I know.
That's interesting.
Terry's
man, are you
like
sure you want to do this? Or anyway, Charity, what was that? Sorry, I didn't mean to get you on.
You're fine.
Okay.
I can't even remember what I was going to say.
So we're moving on. We're moving on. Hey, we're gonna do a drinking podcast. Terry, are you down?
Yeah, man.
Do you have beer? Do you have alcohol?
I do.
All right, go get a drink. We're all gonna get drinks.
Okay.
We'll be back. Right on. Oh.
Yeah.
The man beer though, not that light bullshit. That's a light beer, isn't it? Oh, geez, come on, man. I thought you were like a cowboy.
I'm a drugstore cowboy.
Right on. So, like I said, folks, this is going to get weird and interesting all at the same time.
Cheers.
Oh. Good. Damn, it's
This'll be
11:11,
fun.
folks, and we're having alcohol.
You know what? I think I realized that after I texted you, because we usually do at noon Pacific, and then Herb was talking, and I looked down at the clock, and I was like, it's noon my time, which means it's not noon Pacific.
All right.
That was
Good
my
stuff.
fault.
All right, folks. So we've had Terry on the program before, so he's no stranger. We typically kick things off with a background, but I think you already did that. So instead, tell us what you're up to today, man. I know you got some new stuff going on, so catch us up.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me back. Last time we talked, it was all about video communication. I thought to myself, wow, why don't I get back on here and talk about communication? And XDC is an experience development center. It's a virtual call center that I strongly would recommend to a car dealership.
Wink, wink.
And it's really because it's in the name, experience. and let me take this to the nth level. What we focus on daily with these agents with XDC, and what you should focus on in the car business when you're training salespeople, anybody that fronts a customer via phone or handshake, ought to be about communication. What's relevant, what's correct, and why are you communicating? What's the end goal? And so often we do a terrible job in this industry to teach our salespeople, our receptionists. I mean, who's the poorest paid person in the store? The receptionist. The less trained person in the store, the receptionist. But that phone ringing is gold. So what I've always been fortunate is knowing that, and I was, I really, some of my best call center agents came off of the showroom floor being a receptionist, because that's where I focus my training on, is talking to that customer when they call. So communication's huge. I'm in the communication business. I've been in the car business since 1989, and my common goal throughout my career, and I feel like it's been successful. Maybe you don't think so, Herb, but I think it all had to do with communication. And I would say that the 3 divorces that I had all was due to lack of communication. So I'm all about communication.
Well, let's break that down for a second, because it's interesting. I agree. I mean, communication is key, but communication for the sake of communication isn't necessarily the goal either.
Constructive communication.
Yeah, but when you talk about that, define that in a term that's that I don't want to see actually, but that impacts the dealership in a positive way.
I'm glad you asked me that, because one of the things that we want to try to focus on when you're training your staff, or you look at a virtual call center to help you with your conversion rates and your connection rate conversation, a couple of things come to mind. First of all, speed. Customers expect, no matter where you go, to a restaurant, to a TV store, to a grocery store, to a car dealership, the customers have an expectation that you have to meet, and you got to find out what that expectation is. But being friendly and likable is very critical. So one of the things that we look for when we want to train this is, first of all, you ought to have some type of training or core values, and we focus on being determined for whatever type of campaign that you're calling on. You got to be determined to drive that customer call to action. You have to be charismatic. If they don't like you, or if they don't feel energy in you, then they become low energy, and the person that has the best energy will convert that lead. And then having an extraordinary way about you to go the longest distance to try to make sure that your customer loves doing business with you. Now, so whether that's a virtual call center or whether that's a BDC at the store level, that's so important. The experience from the customer all the way.
So let me ask you this question, and I'm kind of asking for both your opinions on one because of the call center aspect, but Charity as a BDC manager, should dealerships have a BDC department at all, or should they outsource that? And if so, why? Like, if you think they should, why? And if you think they should outsource it, why?
Terry, do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Well, I can answer. I've been in the car business so long that I was in the revolution of call BDCs installed in dealerships. There was a long time ago where there wasn't enough outbound business that you could inbound, outbound from a sales perspective poorly, but we did it. But in the late 90s, here comes this new wave of people that want to install BDCs into stores. The dealers thought, well, we can do this. And then they realized quickly, most of them, they have a hard enough time managing sales process and service process to try to manage a professional BDC. It's not cost effective. So now you go into a lot of these stores and there's a dinosaur room with nuclear weapon computers and dust and all because they've been there for 15, 20 years and they're just sitting there and they're dead and they're unused and it's dark because it's not cost effective. What we always tell dealers is do what you're great at, right? And so if you can be great at teaching a BDC process and having that type of energy and having the management process into making sure that you're getting the job done, then you can do it. But I will tell you across the country, I'd say 85% of these dealers don't have the competence or the time to deal with that. And so I would say it's more cost effective to hire a virtual BDC that you can hold accountable, that you can get the right mesh with to be able to be that for you at a lot less expense and overhead.
So I would say that the biggest problem with business development centers is the battle between a business development center and the sales floor. I've never been in a BDC that didn't have that battle. And if you are going to have a BDC that is in the building with your sales guys or your sales floor, then you need to be bought into the BDC process, and you need to have a sales team that's bought into that process. If you don't have that, you will always have a war going on. And the other thing that happens is if you're getting phone calls into your dealership, then anybody who answers that phone needs to be trained on how to talk on the phone, and they're not. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. This generation doesn't know how to talk on the phone. They're not taught how to do it. And we just assume because we learned how to talk on the phone that they know how to talk on the phone, and they don't. And so if you're not going to properly train them, then hire out.
So here's my take on that. And we've talked about this before, but we're drinking now, so I feel we can have that battle and it'll be more fun. I think that the majority of what's called BDCs in the dealerships today are not actual BDCs. They're call centers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you're the name itself, Business Development Center, you're supposed to be developing business. If you're getting inbound calls from outside, from marketing initiatives dripping into your BDC, that is not business development. You're just answering a question, a marketing question that was put out there in the different channels that exist today. How hard is it for you to set an appointment on that? How hard is it for you to answer that customer's question? You know what I mean? Like I don't understand why. And people, like BDC gurus or whatever, will argue with me on this to the death. But I just don't get it. Like if you're developing business, you should be mining your database 24/7, and you should only be focused on doing that because that is truly developing business.
Well, it's because, first of all, I think that there's two aspects of business development. There's inbound and there's outbound. So
you're not developing business from an inbound call.
Let me finish. Your inbound, the problem is that if you have not trained anybody to talk on the phones, it doesn't matter what your marketing initiatives are. It doesn't matter what you're saying. And you are bleeding money if you aren't training people on the phones. Because what you get, and I've done this time and time again, when I do those secret shops that everybody's heard me do the secret shops, it's shit. Because they do not know what to say on the phone. And if you're not going to train anybody to talk on the phone, then you're bleeding money.
Now, I get what you're saying, but Terry, let me ask you this question. When you hire somebody for a sales role in any of the companies or any of the leadership roles that you've had, is that person expected to get leads to close business, or are they supposed to go out there and farm and develop it themselves? They might get some leads, right? But it's never a guaranteed thing, or nobody should ever get hired on the premise that, hey, we're going to feed you leads and all you have to do is close them. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I totally agree. In every aspect of my career, um, business development is totally different than answering the phone call. I do agree with you, Terry, that training, first of all, it's a lost art in the car business. I will say that train the trainer and then train the managers never happened. Like, Charity, how much training did you receive to be a business development director? How much training came in and trained you to be able to do it? Now, you probably self-taught yourself or read or listened or learned because, obviously you care about the product that you put out there, but it's not happening. And so your managers can't hold it accountable, can't train it. So therefore, I'll go back originally and agree with Herb that incoming is not BDC. You're basically answering a call and you're shuffling that call to wherever it's supposed to go or answering questions. I would agree that a true business development center, his job is to develop opportunities for that customer. Now we know the numbers, and I can tell you that, and hopefully you can get to this, but speed to lead is so critical. I do my own. I just bought a truck last weekend, and I hit Car Guru's third-party lead provider. That's where I was shopping, and I hit about 5 different dealers with interest. And where I bought the car was the second person that called me, right behind the first person. The other 4 or 5 never even contacted me later in the game. But Harvard did a study here recently. Harvard Business College.
School of Business.
They took 15,000 records, and they made over 100,000 attempts on those 15,000 records. And undoubtedly, customers that were engaged within 5 minutes, there was a 400% fall with customers that were reached within 15 minutes of contact rate.
I say that all the time. All the time.
So when dealerships close, when dealerships are open but they're not, when dealerships are not prepared to take a call, when dealerships are in meetings and nobody can take a call, who's taking that call? And so I will tell you that having a professional call center, whether it's in the dealership or outsourced, being professional, being trained daily, being specific on having a beer, being specific on.
I'm on my second one now. I'm beating you guys. Come on.
It's like, feel as if
being very specific on that call and knowing what you're doing, know how to answer, know how to get the customer down through the funnel to get them to the store or onto the online buying process to complete the transaction. That's what has to be taught, trained, and paid.
So you said something. You said something that I want to touch on because I think it's key. It's key in this whole thing. You talked about how the business development center should be developing business. And what I mean, if you have a true BDC and you show me their numbers and you tell me that they account for 75% of your sales, that's not a BDC. Because there's no BDC in the world that's going to put out those numbers. A true BDC isn't going to put those numbers out. A true BDC that is focused on developing business, cold calling people basically, is going to generate business that you were not going to get that month. Those sales would have never happened at your store or your competitors.
Well, and that's why I say that it's multiple departments. Because I think that you've got what happens when you have it in a dealership and as part of the sales floor is that you're paying BDC agents generally on a base plus commission. And that commission means that they're going, because it's commission work, they're going to go for the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit. We all know it. The lowest hanging fruit will always be an inbound phone call. It will. And so they're going to take those inbound phone calls and they're going to work those way more often than they're ever going to call.
Yes, but my point is
hang on. And then what happens is what you need to do is separate the two of them out and actually have 2 separate pay plans for the 2 different departments.
That doesn't work.
You will have 2
different
aspects.
That does not work.
I'm not saying an internet team.
So here's the way that it should be in today's digital world. And I'll let me finish it, and then you guys can tell me your thoughts. Okay. In the digital world that we live in today, if you truly have if you're bought into the concept that you have a digital dealership, then the leads, the inbound that's coming in from all your marketing dollars that are out there are your digital ups. Who takes up at the dealership? The salespeople or the BDC agents? Salesperson. So send all your inbound stuff to the salespeople, right? Those are digital ups. Instead of them sitting in the golf cart up front, waiting for the BDC to set appointments for them, have them man all those leads that are coming in through inbound efforts.
That would be
Let me
great.
finish.
If
Let me
they
finish.
would train.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let the BDC agents handle do all the outbound, and don't have expectations that they're going to generate for you 75% of the business. Take the 20 deals or the 30 deals that they're going to do in the month and know that those are 20 or 30 deals that would have never happened. The pie is the pie, folks. It's not getting any bigger. Your market is going to sell what it's going to sell. The only thing you can do is take market share away from your competitors. And if you truly have a business development center, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be taking those opportunities that didn't exist or wouldn't have existed that month, and they're giving them to you. Those are my thoughts.
And the true skill on the phones, the true skill is being able to outbound call. That's if you can outbound call and you can convert, then you're set. And whenever I'm training, I tell people that you want to be really good on the phones, learn how to outbound call. Because an inbound call is just low-hanging fruit.
Terry?
What I would say, a couple of different inbound opportunities in every dealership. You got somebody calling, and you got inbound leads coming in. Obviously, we don't, in our call center setup, we will take inbound, but that's not what we want to do, because I can't say, hey, how you doing? You're being recorded for quality purposes. Do you still have that car on the lot? I couldn't tell you because I'm not there. So I do agree that salespeople should have a role in this, assuming that we're going to train them. But I also want to go back to what I didn't get to totally finish your question earlier, Herb. In my industry and in my career, even when I ran stores, customers or salespeople, they had to produce their own business. They did not get ups until they started producing their own business. And then when the digital world happened in 98, 99, as it continued to grow and to where it's at today, obviously there's a lot more traffic coming in, not from the gate, but the digital gate, right? So there's a lot more traffic up there that we need to share that with salespeople, because that's just like ups coming in or phone calls ringing, which salespeople used to get that, but we got to train them to handle it properly. And the last thing I would add is because a virtual call center has full-time job to do exactly what they're being paid to do, which is different than a salesperson or a BDC or an internet department. I have some stores that have an internet department and a BDC. The BDC is doing exactly what you're talking about, Herb. They're looking at data. They're trying to call service customers. They're trying to make new business out of nothing. The internet department's handling that influx of leads coming in and then getting them to schedule an appointment, then get them over to a manager or a salesperson to do a call and confirm that appointment.
I hate that term, internet department, by the way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to put that question out there because I want to talk about that.
Well, to me, I look at it when I walked into a store and did an analysis and decided whether or not I wanted to come there and run the store from a GM perspective. I wanted to look to see what they were paying for, what they were getting. And having an internet BDC is 2 departments, and you can probably do away with most of it. As long as you get your management team trained up properly. Because what I hate today is when a BDC will schedule an appointment and then it goes to the dealership and they don't pick the phone up and say, hey, how you doing? I'm here. I've got the keys. I'm here. I wanted to confirm. Good to meet you. Come ask for me. Can't wait to meet you. And you can't get dealership employees to do that. You can't do it.
Agree with that.
Terry, come on, you're old school, right? You've been in those meetings. Yeah. Like I remember, dude. I never sold cars, but I remember being at the dealership and a salesperson would walk out almost crying from a finance manager's office or a GM's office because they got paperwork thrown in their face. You're going to tell me that they can't get their people to do whatever they want them to do. Like, I just don't buy that. The only reason they don't do it is because the management doesn't think that's important. Because if they thought that was important, believe me, these people would do it, or they would get kick in the ass so fast that
I agree that it is top-down management. Inspect what you expect. I 100% agree with you. you're aware of stores that do a great job, and you're aware of stores that do a terrible job. And it starts from expectation and accountability from the GM.
Well, and so I love the idea of a business development center working outbound and service drive and doing the stuff to generate more business. Love it. But what it really comes down to on the dealership level, if you're going to have, is that you're not training the salespeople to talk on the phones. And if you're not doing that, who the hell's doing it?
But think about this.
We should totally do a secret shop while Terry's on the phone, because it's like this.
One of the things that this company, one of the things that this company has available is not only will we be your virtual call center and help you where you need most of the help, but we'll also put your team on a video platform and give them the training that they need and give you the information so you can hold them accountable that they are getting the training, because it's got to do with a couple of simple things. And you guys already know this, but you got to be charismatic when you take a call, right? You got to be determined on what's the goal, right? You got to know what the goal is. You got to know the answers to the questions before you ask the questions. And then the last thing is you got to be extraordinary. What makes me different than all the other dealers and all the other colors and all the other monies? What makes us different? So I always train that. Got to have 5 good reasons why this customer needs to get here right now.
You guys know that one of the bigger issues is the fact that BDC agents are not, quote unquote, allowed to sell a car online. Their objective at most of the stores that I've ever consulted in is to set appointments. Your goal is to set appointments. So whatever the customer says, just set the appointment. Don't give them information. Don't tell them this, that, X, Y, or Z. And I
think that's problematic.
It's not even, it's stupidity. That's what it is.
That's going back to what Charity said. It's a fight between who gets the credit, the salesperson or the BDC
What does
agent.
it matter, man? Like the person is calling for information. Give them the information that they want.
BD agent, it's usually the sales floor that gets really, really, really touchy about that kind of stuff. And for BD agents, they never quite understand why. I think that sales guys, I always say sales guys, but I think that.
What about sales gals?
I know, exactly. I think
salesperson.
Salesperson.
Yes. I mean, this is 2023, Charity. You don't want to get canceled.
Jeez. Salespeople think that it comes out of their paycheck or something. They get really weirdly possessive.
No, but I get it. Having been a salesperson, I get it. You want to have control, right? I get that. You want to have control, but you can't hold the BDC accountable for setting appointments and then don't allow the BDC agents to give consumers the information that they're asking for.
Not only that, but
dumb.
If you aren't allowing your BDC agents to give the information that the consumer is asking, you're actually breaking FTC guidelines.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealertalk. That's 4eyes.io/dealertalk.
Well, I got news for you. They do that every day.
Oh, yeah.
I got dealerships that want to allow their BDC to quote pricing. I'm like, why are you just wasting money? Because every other place is giving pricing. Now you lose the opportunity. You're losing deals every time. So
to go way back to Herb's question about they're just answering the phone call and fielding it to the wrong place or to the right place. The problem is that a lot of times when a customer calls in, that's not how the conversation goes at all. They want to know things that
they've already shopped.
Right. They've been
we already know they've been shopping.
They've been looking at how many dealerships before they call, how many hours before they call. And so you've got to be able to have the skill set to convince them that the value is in the personality of the person on the phone that says, you know what, we care enough about you that you should get in your car and drive across town to our dealership and none of the other ones that you looked at. And that's the skill set for an inbound call.
I love their process. They had their internet BDC department take the inbound stuff, but every salesman was connected to one of their agents. So as soon as the said, hey, I want information now, I'm ready to buy, bang, they three-wayed the salesperson assigned to the agent. Hey, Mr. Salesperson, we've got Mr. Smith on the line. They're ready. They've been shopping. They want more information. They're ready to buy right now. Can you go ahead and help them? And then hot TO that salesperson into the process to try to go ahead and take that customer down through the funnel. And I tell you, as customer myself, I push the dealerships hard to get me in and out of the process fast as possible. I told you I bought a truck from Car Gurus, went down to Brickell.
Well, you didn't buy it from Car Gurus. They don't sell cars, man.
But I started the process. Anyways, I got there at they opened at 11 o'clock Sunday morning, and I was done by 1. Within 2 hour process, sales process, an hour drive there, hour drive back.
Yeah, but see, those things don't apply to people like us, because I buy my cars via text message now. You know, like I like the car. Hey man, I want this car. They text me when the paperwork's ready. I go, I sign, I'm done. So like, I hate,
but
this is one of the things.
Imagine Herb, imagine a company that could do that it doesn't have to be that way, but people can't buy like us, texting or doing it in 2 hours. Imagine if you could get that done.
Listen, I call BS because no, I mean, but I'm going to explain why. Like, I hate, like, people on LinkedIn do this shit all the time, especially the digital retail pushers. Oh my God, like, why aren't you doing digital retail? Blah, 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 blah. Dude, no customer. They say, like, I did this and stuff. Yeah, of course you did that, because you're selling it and you know the dealership and you know the GM and you know the salesperson and you know the GSM, and you just tell them, hey, I want to buy this car. We can't talk about that experience because we're not regular customers. We just don't buy cars like the everyday person at this level in our careers. We don't, and we have to be honest about that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So,
but I remember when I bought, my first 2 cars, and I wasn't involved in the industry, and that shit sucked ass, bro. Like, you were there for 4 or 5 hours, and all I wanted to do was get out of there. Like, I haven't forgotten those days.
You have special needs credit? Special needs credit. Special needs credit. You're lucky when they're 9 hours.
Right. So it's we can't talk about an experience that we are not subject to. It's not fair, Like, we're not the customer.
Can you say experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard for us to fully understand what a dealer. Whenever I'm training a new agent, one of the things that I use as my example is, how did you feel when you walked into the dealership for your job interview? How stressed out were you when you were trying to find a place to park? And don't ever forget that. Yeah. Because that's how a customer feels every single time that they pull into a dealership.
Yes.
I mean, hey, I teach A through Z process, both service and sales. I don't turn wrenches, but I teach. It's always about communication. I'll give you an example. If you guys were to say, hey, I'm going to turn you on to a blind
guys, date. Wait, you got to pause here for a second. Give me a minute. Bro, I'm in my 3rd beer and you guys nothing yet? Come on.
I'm like on a wine and a half. I'm totally buzzed.
Trying to get me drunk, say something I won't regret.
That's exactly what we're trying to do, is get you drunk. Do it, Terry.
Like I was talking, fun. I was like, Terry's probably going to do shots. He's from Texas.
You do realize that we can edit any of this out, right?
Yeah, but you'll still have the goods on me. You'll run a long story on me someday. Look at this clown.
No.
What I was saying is, though, if we were to do a blind date and you put me out there and had no knowledge of the person, the experience is going to be very anxiety driven, because, I don't know if I'm going to like this person visually, or then if I do like her visually, would I like her,
intellectually,
or anything else about her?
Will you like her eyes?
I don't know. Put that in the car business, and think about the anxiety after you've already been through the back and forth with the salesman and the manager and the pencil process. Now they're going to pick you up and go move you into a chair and wait on this other guy that's behind the glass. It's going to put your paperwork together go over all your financial documents. So that TO process, build some rapport, walk in and say, hey, this is Jimmy. Everybody loves him. He likes fishing like you do. And you can get that warm transfer over. It's now not a blind date. It's a warm date, and that anxiety level drops. So it's the same thing about call center.
Absolutely.
Is to be able to have an extraordinary experience on that call, to be able to drop the anxiety level. Like you said, hey, by the way, when you pull in, look for this sign. There's the customer parking. When you come in, ask for Joe. They'll be ready there to greet you with a coffee or a beer and a cookie and make this experience great.
Yes, and I love the warm transfer, because I think one of the things that falls apart really quickly between a BDC and or whatever you want to call them, the people on the phone, and
the call center,
sales floor,
because they're not BDCs, they're call centers.
And the sales floor is that warm transfer. Like, in order to successfully do your job on the phone, you've got to be able to paint a picture of the experience that the customer is going to have. And
why do we call them BDCs?
Hang on. So you want to paint a picture for the customer of the experience they're going to have. And then if that is not followed through on, then the customer is at an immediate disadvantage. And
what's the experience?
Okay, so for me, it would be, hey, my name is Bob, and I've got this car that I want to trade in, but I have no idea what it's worth, so I really don't know where to go from here. Okay, Bob, so this is what we can do for you. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have you come in, and I'm going to have one of my guys do an appraisal on your car. And while my manager is doing that appraisal on your car, he's going to take your keys and everything. My sales associate is going to show you some vehicles that might work for you and maybe even take you on a test drive while your car is being appraised. The appraisal itself takes about 30 minutes. So at the end of that, we'll be able to tell which kind of vehicle you're looking for, and we'll be able to give you a range for the value of your vehicle. So that's the picture that I paint for the customer. If that does not follow through on the sales floor, if they walk into the building and they're like, oh, we don't do appraisals unless you're looking for a car.
So what's the experience?
Well, then we're screwed up.
But what's the experience?
What do you mean?
That's not an experience.
How is that not an experience?
It's not an experience. Define the word experience, because this is what every dealership in the country has wrong. Everybody talks about the experience. What's the experience? Tell me, what is the experience about that?
Okay, go ahead, Terry.
Let me help. Because I believe in experience.
No, and I know, and there's a way. There's ways, and I can give you examples on how to have an experience. But that's not an experience. That's your process. That's a process that you have at the dealership. What's the experience? What are you going to do that's different? What's the experience?
What's the differentiator?
Yes, like that's what an experience is. What is different about that than me going anywhere else? That's what we should be thinking about.
Well, and that's something that I liked about what Terry said earlier, is that he's got your three why-bys, essentially. The charisma, and then what were the other ones? Charisma? Determination?
Yeah, being charismatic, being determined, and being
That's not an experience either. Those are processes.
Well, actually it is, Herb. An experience is different for every person. If you were to say, hey, I just had an extraordinary experience, then that extraordinary is an action toward that experience. But
differentiator.
Experience is the
word you're looking for.
What had happened.
That's what an experience is. An experience is you leave that place feeling something different. You feel something different. Well, it's a feeling.
Yeah. Not different.
You know what I mean?
Good or bad.
Obviously, in the context of this conversation, it's a positive thing. You're like, wow, you know what? That place is pretty awesome. That's different. Like, I've never bought a car in that way, or I've never had my vehicle appraised in that way. Like, that's different.
Or that's a shitty experience. They didn't tell me the truth. They didn't have the car. I drove all the way down here.
You could have that too.
So that's a shitty experience. So experience is the feeling of the beholder. And so we got to train, and what we try to train in the call center world, BDC and call center world, is to have a differentiation in experience. you know what's going to happen at a dealership. We're different. How are we different? Bang, 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 and we're going to prove it. And we can say the words, but we don't prove
an experience,
it. We bring them in.
Could be this, right? So what Charity was talking about, but you can say on the phone, like, Mr. Customer, if you complete all these things, here's a cool thing, Mr. Customer. If you do all these things prior to your visit, I guarantee with confidence, I guarantee that you're going to be out of here in an hour and a half. And then when the customer shows up, wait. When the customer actually shows up to the dealership,
right.
If they did all the things that you told them to do, they actually leave in an hour and a half. That's an experience. That's a positive experience, right? Because the average wait time is 4 to 5 hours. And if I do all these things online, I get to leave in an hour and a half. That's freaking cool.
And that's what I mean by the warm transfer. If the business development agent doesn't have the power to be able to sell based on price, they don't have the power to be able to sell based on any of those financial factors, then they have to be able to sell based on the experience that they're going to have. And that experience needs to be followed through with.
And
because
here's the
because the other side of that is that the customers, the experience starts with that phone call, and the customer's first experience cannot be, well, I can't tell you what that number is over the phone. You have to come into the building. It's got to be something that motivates them to come into the building to find out what those numbers are, to know that they are going to have an epic relationship with a dealership because that dealership cares about who the hell they are. And it doesn't matter if that happens in the dealership on the phone or if it happens at a call center on the phone. That has to be the first experience that they have, and that has to be transferred to the way that the sales associate is handling the customer when they walk in the building, or they're immediately lied to.
Here's the thing that a positive experience allows you to do too. You can charge more money, and people will pay gladly.
The happier customer spends more money. Everybody knows that.
So why are we not focused on that? Stop trying to sell the car online. Mm-hmm. Just cut the time frame that the customer's waiting there. Shorten that.
That goes back to what Terry said about training being a dying art within the automotive industry, especially COVID babies and stuff. They don't understand the charisma and the finesse of sales. I think that the rest of us have.
I'd like to roll this back to where we started our discussion. Do we really need it at a dealership level? And can it live in a delership? Should it be outsourced?
Wait. You can't talk until you drink what's left in that thing. Go get a refill. We're gonna pause here. Hey, the writer, pause here while Terry goes and gets another beer. Terry, we're going to be here for at least another 2 hours. So by the end of this podcast,
Terry, we're just going to be here. We're here for fun. We would do this with no one else. It's because it's you.
Just because
we
it's
like you so much.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Proceed. Sorry to cut you off.
Where I was going with this is that because experience is so important, and the OEM talks about it, the dealer talks about it. We got a lot of talking going on, but no action.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I would tell you to outsource your call center activity, because you can hold that company accountable.
One throat to choke, man. I totally agree.
Okay.
And I would say that I don't expect that when I ran a store, I had a call center that took care of certain aspects of my process. But ultimately, it comes down to the people you hold most accountable, which is your managers. And the call center virtually can only do so much, and then the manager's got to take it from there and manage the process from there. I give total autonomy to any customer that says, I want to buy now, all the hocus pocus is out, get me to the right guy. We get them to that right guy, and we try to give them that experience they want.
So
some customers don't know what they want.
So, Terry,
in today's environment, some customers want to do it all online. And how many BDC folks can take a customer, take them online and do it?
The numbers don't indicate that. I think there's a lot of, what's that? Fugazi, fairy dust when it comes to that stuff.
I can promise you, your Mercedes-Benz store does more online purchases than a Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
The numbers do not support that. Listen, if customers wanted that during COVID, we would have seen increases in 20, 30, 40, 50% of people buying cars online. And that did not happen. It barely made it to 10%. Barely.
Well, part of that reason was there was no inventory to
no,
sell.
Man. No, because you could have put cars on order. You could have here's the reality. You're going to tell me Terry, is going to buy a used car. You're going to buy a used car online 100% with ever getting in it, smelling it, touching it, feeling it? No way.
But
I want to do everything and then go down there and touch it.
Right. So you still have to go to the dealership.
But we also go back to what Herb said earlier about you can't be the one that decides that because you're in the industry. You know the differences and the nuances between a used vehicles. Most people don't understand those things.
I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. But anyway, here's my question to you, Terry. Like, I started in the car business in 1998, right? And I remember back in those days, people were still buying cars online, by the way. It was still very, very new, but there was maybe not online, but shipping was happening, right? People were calling dealerships out of state and shipping cars and all that stuff. So dealerships have been doing that shit for years. They don't promote it for good reason because you don't want to just ship the car out of your PMA. You want to service the car and build loyalty and all this other stuff. So that idea isn't, that's been happening for a really long time is my point. But what I wanted to ask you, back in those days, there was no BDC. There was none of that shit, dude. I remember these guys would start and they'd hand them the phone book. And these dudes, the receptionist, I remember the receptionist would call and be like, sales call, line 1. And you would see these people trampling each other to get to the freaking phone.
Right. But that goes back to your COVID babies.
I remember the top dudes, when it was slow, they would grab business cards and they'd freaking leave the dealership. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be there waiting for nothing. They would go and try to generate their own business. That shit doesn't happen anymore.
Well, you never worked in a store that I ran because it happens where I'm at. Now, I just think, again, it's from the top down. I mean, we said it a lot. And again, we also know the facts are we all can talk it, but these dealers have got to execute it. Managers are not trained to be managers. They're the best salesmen, or they knew a buddy that, somehow they got the seat. Now they're the manager. They don't know how to treat. They don't know how to motivate. They don't know how to do certain things that they could know how to do if they had proper training and motivation. I mean, it really starts from way up here and it boils all the way down. That's why, ask the question again: is a external BDC a good investment? And I would tell you again, because they're professionals at what they do, and you can hold them accountable. You can get more out of it, and you don't have the overhead expense, the HR issue. You don't have any of that. The thing that you have to be clear on, though, is it's got to be a partnership between that BDC center and the management team, because it has to be wired in for it to be effective. Good and bad. I've seen where BDCs do a great job and nobody confirms appointments, therefore they don't get the conversion rates. So it's not a and only, it's an and if or. You got to have both sides of the equation playing, and it would work if they did it at the store level and had management accountability. Sure. So often, you guys said it, the top dogs, they're out there, they're paying kids under the table to get all the good leads. There's all kinds of games going on at the store level. So the 20% that continue to eat, and the 80% that starve continue to starve.
I would say that, and this is probably because I'm a little bit buzzed, so my guards are down. That one of the reasons that BDC managers and BDC trainers advocate so strongly for dealerships managing or in-person dealerships is because they're afraid of obsolescence. And it this is the craziest podcast we've ever had. Are you buzzed, Terry?
No, but I thought I would put this on because, right now we have the draft, and my good friend Jonathan Thompson at AMG.team, he gave me this from a charity auction. It's Troy Aikman, my boy.
Whoa, it's signed? Look at that.
Yeah. Number 8, Troy Aikman, 3 Super Bowls, dynasty in the 90s.
Is that Tony Romo's signature?
No, that's a little bit before Tony.
Is it T.O.?
Troy Aikman. From Henrietta, Oklahoma.
See, here's the difference between Terry and me is I drink man beer and Terry drinks light beer.
Yeah.
I used to drink.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
really,
good. This is the time, folks. Ask me anything.
But Jonathan Thompson and Bailey Thompson, they give me that helmet for my birthday, so I thought it was pretty cool. I did want to say that, in your call center, whether it's in-store or out-of-store, one of the things, our biggest conversion rate that we see is unsold showroom traffic. So you might think that if you come in and you don't buy a car and you leave, that the salesman, the manager, they'd be calling you back, trying to get you back in. You wouldn't believe that they don't call you back, and if they do, it's weeks down the road. So what we do, we have 3 strengths: trade cycle, buyback campaigns, reinstitutional service recovery, grabbing those customers back that hadn't been in a while, and service, and then unsold showroom ups. And because, again, managers are unmanaged, not held accountable, salespeople are lazy. And to be able to take that data 3 days after a customer says no and leaves the store and re-engage them from a call center perspective and redevelop that business.
That's PDC gold that you're talking about right now, right? That's their low-hanging fruit. They set an appointment for the same person 15 times and they get paid on it too. Well, it's like, dude, come on now. It's true. Is it not true?
But I will tell you, if you
Okay, first of all right, let's just stop there for a second. If the customer is willing to walk back into the dealership 15 times, is that really a BDC problem? Or is that a salesperson problem because he can't freaking close a customer who's been in the dealership 15 times?
He might have incremental credit or a serious hookage on his vehicle.
Like there's all kinds of issues. But anyway, I want to get to something that we talked about earlier that I've been meaning to talk about. And I was waiting till I was buzzing enough to bring it up because this is my biggest pet peeve, and I'm gonna fucking go all out on this shit right now.
Oh no!
I got a lot of pet peeves.
Terry, you're gonna forgive us for this.
No. We're gonna talk this out. What the fuck, right, is going on with these internet departments? Isn't the whole damn store an internet department? Why do you need an internet department in 2023? Somebody please explain that shit to me. I do not get it.
I thought you were going to talk about spreadsheets with all this anger coming from you. Just throw spreadsheets out there too. Tell us how you feel about spreadsheets.
Well, I like spreadsheets because a lot of my business is done with Excel. So let's not get crazy. But
at the end of the day, Herb is a number.
Herb, honestly, brother, you've been in the car business. You have to hold a small group of people accountable for certain things because it's all about timing. If you let these freaking salespeople keep them in charge of getting back with customers, you're done. You may as well not have it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll bite. But then we cannot have the concept of having a digital dealership. Because if you have a digital dealership, your salespeople should be taking your digital ups. So either get off that fucking conversation and never tell me again, oh, my digital dealership, right? It doesn't make sense.
Have you guys heard of Roadster?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Roadster became really big in the and really, really big. Now they're even bigger because CDK bought them. But Roadster really made their name during the pandemic. Now, I had 17 stores that I was training sales process, and I quickly converted into teaching these guys how to convert Roadster customers. Have them online. If they're going to use Roadster to try to sell them a car, put them quickly on a Zoom and walk them through the steps instead of thinking they're going to walk themselves through the steps after you hang up. So there's still a people component to it. Although a customer can do it by themselves, but they're not going to do it. Salesperson, BDC manager, internet department, take that customer, put them on a Zoom, and walk them through the Roadster process to get them through the funnel and get them to the delivery process. That's how we were successful in converting online Roadster deals, one of the highest in the countries, with Rick Case Automotive Group because of the way we set that process up by using
If we're going to do that,
to help,
right? If we're going to do that, which I don't disagree with it. Here's the thing. I don't disagree with it. I disagree with the setup because it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. If you're going to have a BDC department and an internet department, just make your BDC team your internet team, right? One. You don't need two different departments, and then let the BDC agents answer customers' questions and don't handcuff them to the appointment, right? It doesn't make sense. Absolutely. And then train them. Here's the other thing that you need to do. You need to train them just like you train your salespeople. So they should be in all the meetings. They should be in all the trainings. Anything that you're doing that's related to sales, the BDC agents should participate in. You know?
Ooh,
but you can't have this BDC team in one island and your internet department in another island and your salespeople in another island. That's stupid. It doesn't make sense.
You can not ever expect your BDC to set your sales team up for success if you aren't training them the same way.
You got to have your receptionist in those meetings. Can I tell you? I used to be a big event guy. I used to be a big event guy. I'd drive 300 or 400 people to a store Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Dealer would tell me, well, hell, it didn't work. We only sold 10 cars. I said, well, you pulled 300 bureaus. Whose fault is it? Well,
absolutely. That's and on a BDC level, that's something that we would say all the time. They'd be like, well, it's not working. And you're like,
yeah. Well, let me give you what happened.
How many people did I bring to your goddamn dealership? Is it my fault or is it your fault?
Yeah.
Your sales guys aren't doing their job. If the customer is getting in their car and they are driving across town, they are finding a place to park at a dealership. They're walking past 5 sales guys on a golf cart into the dealership and saying to the receptionist, I have an appointment. It is not the BDC's fault that you didn't convert them.
Yeah. Well, one of the strongest things that I teach GMs and dealers is you have to have your receptionists involved. Your part-time receptionists at night, your daytime receptionists, they got to be involved in your marketing campaigns. You know, I've done a lot of things in my career, and I used to have 2 or 3 sales teams that worked for me. And one of the things that I always included in my sales team, closer, salespeople, F&I person, I included a receptionist. So if I needed that person to take a call, calling about the big event, what time can you get here? Those cars will be gone fast. Let's get you in here, blah, 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 blah. And your normal run-of-the-mill receptionist that just got out of high school, that cares more about her boyfriend than the customer calling, doesn't care. And you lose all this business by the entry point. So the receptionist doesn't know about the big event. Get you killed.
Your receptionist is the first point of contact, and her or his conversation is worth.
Hey, folks, Charity's buzzing. Woo!
Shut up.
We got new words. We got sales ips.
Sales ips?
Ips. Instead of salesman or sales lady, it's sales ips.
How do you spell that?
Sales IT. It.
Ips.
So now we're all ips.
Anyways. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of this year. What do you see? What do you forecast? What are you thinking? What should dealers be doing right now? Listen, shit's coming down the pipe, man. Don't you think?
What does that mean, Herb? Shit's coming down the pipe.
Okay, so here are my thoughts. First of all,
it's the end of the month.
No.
It was a rough month.
So, first of all, we robbed the future during the pandemic, right? So a lot of people that were going to transact now transacted then because they had extra cash, stimulus, they weren't paying their bills or whatever. So we have some of those customers that are out of the market and they're buried. Like those customers are underwater, right? Anybody that transacted during that time is going to be in a very negative equity position. So there's that. I think things will normalize probably in 2 years, so 2025, before things kind of like level off again. So those are things we have to combat. We have interest rate issues. We still have shortages, although that stuff is normalizing. So we still have some inventory issues. But I think that as the new cars start to come in, it's going to curve the used car demand. And then pricing, I think, is going to start to fall. Like, I think that if people are really looking, like here in Vegas, for example, AutoNation and I think Driveway. So Driveway is Lithia and AutoNation is AutoNation. They had casino sales the last weekend. So they had like all their excess inventory at a casino and people could go and buy them for like ridiculous prices. Right. So I think we're going to start to see a lot of that shit. And so what do you think? What should dealers, do you agree, disagree? Do you think dealers should be doing something to prepare? What are your thoughts?
Well, so I've been around this business for 3 decades and I've seen good and bad. I was there in the 90s when the economy was coming out of a major problem and, and then Bill Clinton came around and the internet, the internet business went absolutely crazy. So it was a great years. When you started in the car business, it was great. Oddly enough, my son, he'd never seen 8-9% buy rate interest rates. He's only been in the car business long enough to see 0% and all this crazy money being give away to people that don't deserve it. I'm not for rewarding people that don't pay their bills with a lower interest rate. I'm not for that. And we've done that. We're doing it again.
Yeah, right.
Well, Oklahoma, the max was 21%, but in Florida, you can do 29% on older used cars. Vegas, you can lay some bad rates out there on used cars. Arkansas is the best place to buy a car because they have usury laws. They can't, either you can't get a loan because you don't qualify, or you got to go to Oklahoma, or you qualify and they can't kill you on rate. But what I'm saying is that customers adapt to whatever they need. So people that need cars are going to buy cars regardless of the market. The market itself is going to do what it takes to make sure that the wheel keeps rolling, because it's one of the 5th industries in our globe that has to keep rolling, or you're going to see major catastrophe in our economy. They're not going to let that happen. They didn't let it happen in 2008. They're not going to let it happen. They didn't let it happen in 2001 during 9/11. First time you ever seen 0% interest was right after 2001, 9/11. The world stopped. And the way we got the automotive industry to start rolling again is 0% cash for clunkers. That was in 2009. All these different ways to get people motivated to go out and spend money to buy cars.
Yeah, but don't you think that they will do that shit again? If cars are not selling and houses are not selling, what's the economy going to do? They're going to be like, oh, okay. No, dude, they're going to fucking bail us out again.
They are going to bail us out. They're going to bail us out as long as we allow bailout to happen now as a country. And you can't allow one of the 5th economic wonders of our economy to blow up. If you do that, then you've got to be willing to pay the price.
So house payments, student loans, and then car payments or car loan.
What we found is that people will let their house go back before they let their car go back, because
you can live in your car, but you can't drive your house.
Well, you can let the house go and go rent or live with family, but you need your car to get around.
Yeah, of course.
And you need a car to go rob a bank, so you ain't got no money. But the banks ain't got no money. But,
that's funny. I like that.
I think that I've seen.
Terry, you're not taking a drink.
I think that the car business is resilient because it can't fail.
So okay, so do you think that we are going to? What do you think for the rest of this year? Do you think it's going to get tough, or you think that everything's going to be like okay?
I think if dealers are not in the subprime business. They need to get into the subprime business and understand and learn it, because it's going to be more and more valuable over the next couple of years, because people's credit is struggling, debt to income. These people have, you've got a hookage problem that it's going to fix itself, because people are just going to give those cars back, and we're going to forgive them, and we're going to give them a new loan at high interest. I've seen it happen before. It's going to happen again to keep the business rolling.
Our banks at a franchise level, right? Because we did the NIADA deal this season, but we're really focused more on like franchise, right? Franchise business. So do you think that I'm already seeing it, dude? I'm seeing 680s that don't go through, 650s that don't go through. So negative do you equity think that we are going to be able to?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, how?
I do.
What are your predictions?
Lenders, okay. Here's how lenders work. If they quit loaning money, the next thing on their balance statement are repos. So they have to keep loaning money to keep the profitability, because they have to cover up the bank repos and the negative equity on the bank repos. So they have to keep lending. Now they do tighten, they do loosen. Other lenders come into the game. So I know this might sound odd, but this is actually good for us. Certainly good for folks out here that are in the vendor partner business that handle marketing and efficient ways to drive traffic, because the people that are wanting to buy cars today want cars. They're not shopping because they're willing to pay the rate. People that don't need cars and that probably have better credit and they maybe have some money in the bank, they're not paying those rates. They'll wait on the sideline for incentives or better rates to come. But 75% of the Americans, they buy from getting excited. They buy from that, what's the word we use? The ether. Emotional buy. And if you can get to their payment, it doesn't matter what that rate is. We're a payment buyer, baby. You
I disagree. Here's what I think happened. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think that people with good credit are the ones that are going to transact, and it's going to be a lot harder for dealers. I agree with you in the sense that marketing is going to become even more important in the next couple of years, because there's going to be a select few of buyers. But you're going to have to be able to capture their intent online, mostly, and drive them into your sandbox. But I think the customers that are...
From a digital process, Herb?
What was that?
From a digital process at the dealership?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Oh, because he was just talking about digital sales.
No, and I just said I agree with you in that regard. But I don't think that the people that have shitty credit they're gonna have to go buy here, pay here. I think somebody that has 650 today, they're going to be pushed down into independent buy here, pay here business.
Well, so that's one of the things that we've run into in a lot of our conversations this season, is that the independent dealers and the buy here, pay here dealers are anticipating a really lucrative year, because the banks are kicking back 650s and 660s.
In the 90s, there used to be Ford Motor Credit, General Motors, and Chrysler. Now, think about what came out of those three. Ford came out with Fairlane Credit, special credit lender. GMC came
Fairlane.
out with Ally.
That was one of the stores I worked at, Fairlane Ford.
Well, but it was Fairlane Credit was a special credit lender that supported Ford Motor Credit.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Ally used to be the special credit holder for Chrysler. Now they're now they buy retail paper. General Motors and Ally were partners. Chrysler they all come up with their own special credit lenders to handle the lower credit score folks. And so all these other, Arcadia, and you guys have your lenders out there in the Pacific and Midwest that are maybe different than the Northeast and the center of the country. But
sure.
What I'm saying is all these new branches of lenders popped up. When a door closes, another door opens.
Oh, yeah, dude.
This door closed of 0% and give anybody money that would breathe. Now, who steps into that door and gets those customers? Because they got to be got, and they're going to get got.
So
there's got to be cars delivered.
Here's my issue.
Market adjustments on new cars.
Yeah, dealers are resilient, man. Like, I mean, I don't know if you remember back in the day, but finance departments weren't even making any money. You know what I mean? Service departments were making any money, and dealers figure out a way to make those things profit centers. So whatever is down the pipe, the entrepreneurial spirit of dealership management and decision makers and all that stuff, I think that they're going to overcome whatever curveballs are thrown their way. But we cannot be blinded to the fact that we caused a big problem during the pandemic. And that's the fact that we shorten our supply for the years to come. And we have to be critically aware of that, because there's a significant, I mean, think about it, record month after month after month after month, right? Like record. And we really did rob the future. And so we have to be prepared for that. So the people that have these expectations of the pandemic-esque type of an environment during the next 2 years, they're delusional, in my opinion.
I'm waiting for the day that we see this. You know, they keep talking about how the turnover rate in the automotive industry has really decreased. I'm waiting for the exodus, where the sales guys, all sales people, all realize how difficult sales really is, and that they, you know, the COVID babies that came in during the really lucrative years.
We're seeing a big push on the East Coast.
Here's a question I want to talk to you guys about. And I want to direct it at Terry, but I'm also very interested in Charity's opinion. So no matter what happens, the industry, at least I'm hoping we can all agree that things are in flux. We don't know what's going to happen. Things are weird for sure. And dealerships are going to figure out a way to make money and continue and remain profitable during whatever is down the pipe. So with that in mind, what do you think? Like when it calls when it comes to a BDC perspective, business development center or whatever the concept of that is at a dealership today, what are the best strategies that somebody should have in place right now? Like, what list should we be calling? Should we be focused on our DMS? Should we be focused on inbound? What should we be doing right now to get an advantage and connect with people that are ready to transact, or at least willing to transact, and why?
Yeah, I think it's very critical, in-house or outsourced communication. A couple things to always keep in mind is call to action, come take advantage of a sale, but if you're not in the market, would you be interested in service? One of the things we experienced in late 2008, 9, 10 were dealers that didn't take great care of their customer, didn't have great CSI, didn't have great customer experience from the service perspective. They lost their dealerships because they couldn't stay in business. I'll give you an example. Bill Hurd Chevrolet, one of the largest Chevy dealerships companies, they sold 28,000 new Chevys more than once for General Motors in their 17 stores. Terrible CSI. It was just a mill, man. They did terrible CSI. They did a lot of new car sales. When tough times hit, credit was no longer available for subprime customers. Bam, they filed bankruptcy, closed all 17 of their stores. Those customers that have great CSI and service and their service departments are paying the bills, they are going to make it through any hard times, because customers prove they'll keep their car for 11 years and just pay to keep it
12
running.
Now.
Yeah, 12 years to pay to keep it running and service it. And that's your loyalty, because when things turn and now they can go buy a new car or a pre-owned car, they're going to come back to you, because we always say in the car business, salesman sells the first one, service department sells the rest. So I will tell you, your BDC agents, your internet department, your people on the phone, if I can't help you out here, can I help you back here? And I think that's so important today, is to give people options on a menu, sales and service. Yeah. Go to a restaurant, they don't have a menu, you get up and leave because you want options. So customers are like that in the car business. Hey, if you're not really interested in maybe trading or upgrading your vehicle, do you need your vehicle serviced? Or when you do, will you come with us? I'll send you some savings. And so you build that relationship on every contact that you make, sales or service.
No, I like that. And I want to get Charity's perspective on this too. But before that, I'm going to give decision makers listening to this a hack that worked really, really well for the stores that I've recommended this to and implemented it. So what Terry said right now is probably the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest secret weapon of any dealership. And that is your salesperson will never, and I mean ever, ever, ever have as good as a relationship with your customer base than an advisor will. Never. Mm-hmm. The advisor knows that person better than anybody. Like they know if they have kids, they know if they have pets. So they're going to have the service advisor is the key to the next deal. And here's what you do. So you go to your BDC or whoever pulls list at your store and you pull deals of anybody that has purchased a vehicle from you that continues to service their vehicle with you year after year after year. You print that list out and then you give it to your advisor, whoever the advisor of that customer that's on that list is that hasn't purchased again, right? And then you have the advisor, not the salesperson. You have the advisor call these people, right? And you have them tell the customer something to the effect of like, hey, Mr. Customer, this is, hey, this is Herb over at ABC Motors. Listen, the reason I'm calling you right now is because, we've had this service relationship with your vehicle. We're in dire need right now of that specific car, and we're paying top dollar. And I immediately, when my manager told me this, I thought of you. I thought your car was like perfect for this campaign. You're going to get top dollar for your vehicle. Would you mind coming in and letting us do a professional appraisal and see if we can get you into a better deal than what you have right now? And it allows us to acquire your car as well. What do you think?
I'm telling you, if I got a call for my service advisor like that, I would go in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I'm in the industry.
Yeah, so those things work. They work really, really, really well because that advisor has such a good relationship with that customer. Mm-hmm. If they've been, here's a caveat. You got to make sure that customer has continued to service their vehicle in your department year after year after year after year. And you got to make sure that they're talking to that person constantly, right? That advisor. And if the advisor makes that call, I'm telling you, you are going to acquire more cars of your brand and you're going to sell more vehicles. It's so effective. It's crazy how effective that campaign is. Anyway, Charity, I want to get your perspective on the question too. Terry set it up, so I had to give that nugget away.
So the question is, how do we set ourselves up for stability in the future?
No, it's like giving everything that's coming down the pipeline, right? Or potentially, in your opinion, what would you say dealerships should be focusing on right now?
So one of the managers,
from a BDC or call center perspective.
From the BDC perspective, one of my original managers when I was learning the business taught me.
Who was that?
Jeff Menard.
Shout out to Jeff.
The cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He taught me a lot. He really did. One of the things he said is in the BDC, and I've always been in the BDC, so I don't know if it works this way on the sales floor, but it ebbs and flows pretty heavily. The closer you get to the end of the month, the busier you get. So your paychecks will always be more at the end of the month. And in order to mitigate that, make outbound calls. Always grease the wheel is what I always say. Never stop looking for business. That's the difference. And like Terry said, work the service drive, tell the customer, hey, if you still want to keep your vehicle, I can personally help you set an appointment with the service drive. Create one of the things that you don't learn a lot of times in BDCs is to create a book of business. They don't teach that. That's something that I've learned just from training myself. Create a book of business, create a relationship with your customer base. Even if those customers don't want to purchase right now. They're going to purchase at some point. And if you were calling them and engaging with them. So one of the things that happened right after COVID started is that everybody, because I was in BDC, everybody expects you to still be making phone calls, right? Well, that's a problem when the whole world is going to absolute shit and everybody's panicking. What are you supposed to call and say? Hey, do you want to buy a car? It doesn't work that way. So you have to be able to pivot, and you have to be able to create customer relationships that will work for you in the future by saying, hey, I'm just checking in to make sure everything's going well with your vehicle. And then creating that conversation that produces grease for your wheel, that mitigates the ebb and flow and creates a more stable environment for you moving forward. So I would say, yes, absolutely. Your outbound calls are essential to your business because they level out the playing field. They mitigate that ebb and flow.
Right on.
I'd like to
Terry,
add to
like I have a question for you that kind of goes in line with what Terry was talking about right now. And that is, why do you think that we neglect the customers that continue to say yes to us on a regular basis? I mean, look, the majority of dealerships have been open for really long periods of time. They have a DMS full of customers that continue to say yes to you on a regular basis by servicing their vehicle with you at least once or twice a year. And we spend, what is it, the average right now? It's $600+ per NADA on
New car
vehicle acquisition. I think that number is actually way less. I think it's $350 during now, post pandemic, because I think that a lot of the focus has gone to used cars, and there's not a lot of marketing dollars spent on new cars for good reason. But, let's say it's a $650 number. Why do we continue to pay that as dealerships and not focus on the customers that are lower down the funnel, in my opinion, and those are the customers that are in our database that we sell to on a regular basis, or we service them on a regular basis?
Well, it all started from the beginning where manufacturers incentive dealers to move inventory. Now, over the years, they've realized that service is so important that they started incentivizing dealers for part sales. You know that if the dealer cares about the OEM cares about new part sales, and they care about new car sales. They don't give too much crap about used cars. So the OEM started this to make the dealer and incentivize the dealer for one certain aspect. And the incentives did not, the pay plan didn't match the dealer as far as taking great care and having retention of their own business. Mm-hmm. So it's never been a big deal. It is a big deal, words, but they don't never follow through. Not I wouldn't say all of them, all dealers, but the majority of them, they talk about it, but they don't do anything about it. They don't manage expectation. They don't train for it. And there's an art to it. You're right. Customers say yes, and the dealer itself doesn't know how to accept that. But I will tell you that there are great operators out there that really understand that. They care more about service than they care about sales. They have their service writers in the sales meetings on Friday morning, Saturday mornings, talking about what's going on. They train their service writers on how to be a better salesperson. And service writers, they think they're not salespeople. That's why they are in service. But you can't be a service writer for me unless you.
Most asinine stupidity that I've ever encountered in the car business. No, wait. Let me get this out. Let me get this out because I'm super passionate about this shit.
Siloed. It's siloed.
The sales advisor is a salesperson. They are selling. Like there's these all these gurus out there that talk about the sales advisor or the service advisor as an advisor. Bullshit. They're a salesperson. And if you're not training them the skills that salespeople need or a salesperson needs, you're just fucking yourself over, man. And if you're buying into that bullshit that they're not salespeople in front of them, that's even worse, right? They are salespeople, 100%. They're actually, in my opinion, a sales advisor, quote unquote, is the best salesperson in your dealership for all the things I just mentioned earlier. They're the best salesperson in your entire operation, hands down.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Not only are they a salesperson, they are an exceptional salesperson. They are able to handle completely pissed off customers and still convert them to a sale. They are able to navigate and create trust with customers that means that the customer comes back to them over and over and over and over again. And that just doesn't really happen on the sales floor as often as it happens on the service side at all. I will go to my service
So
advisor.
I was a manager. I worked at the dealership, and then I left to go to an independent in Michigan called Bell Tire. And shout out to Bell Tire. They were a great company. They weren't a dealership, but they were so good when it came to service and training, and they cared about their people, and they were just a fantastic company. And they're growing and growing, and before you know it, they'll be all over the country. But one of the things that they did that was really, really good for me from a career path perspective is that they always treated us like salespeople, right? And they gave us skills, and they were training us constantly on that notion. They wanted us to think of our role as you are a salesperson, right? You're there to advise the customer, but you are a salesperson, right? So you have to have discovery conversations with customers. That's why a lot of these things get misdiagnosed, is because you're not having enough conversations with your customers about the issues.
Is that experience?
What was that?
Is that experience?
What do you mean experience? What does that mean?
They're focused on the experience.
Oh, yeah. That to me, that's an experience for sure.
That is
in Michigan, for example, where they have like a bunch of stores, like they have more business than the dealerships do because they look at it. They're approaching it from a different perspective. And I've always wondered why that isn't the case. Why that isn't more pronounced in the dealership level. Like, for example, like their technicians actually come out and talk to customers. I think that's a big detriment in the dealership world. Like, why? It's like you're going to the doctor, but you're always talking to the receptionist, and you're like, no, but I want to talk to the doctor. Oh no, you can't talk to the doctor. The doctor is behind this enclosed environment. Like, he tells me and I tell you. No, dude, you want the technician to talk to you, right? Because the technician is going to have more information than I have. You know what I mean? He's the one turning the wrenches. He's the one, putting the hours upon hours upon hours to learn the technology that your car has. I'm not going to be able to explain that to a customer if I'm a service advisor. There's no way. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's a lot of that. And that's one of the reasons why I personally believe that a lot of customers prefer mom and pop shops, because the technician will actually come out from the back and will talk to the customer. And the customer feels, hey, like this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy knows my car. This guy or this gal knows my issue. You know what I mean? I don't know. My thoughts.
You realize that you're contradicting yourself pre-Terry showing up to the episode.
I will tell you, the Power of Co-Video really helps with that too, because the technician doesn't have to come out. You just bring a video of him.
Oh, you have a video, yeah. But wait, how am I contradicting myself?
Because you said that the dealership offers a better customer experience, hands down,
than a
mom and pop shop.
But I'm not saying that they don't offer a better experience. But when it comes to amenities, no independent is going to offer better amenities, which ties into the experience for the customer, than a dealership. None. No way. The reason why dealerships lose on their units in operation is not the amenities. The reason they lose is because a customer defects. 10% at Pet Boys, 5% at Grease Monkey, 1% at Jiffy Lube. That's why they lose. But in the aggregate as a whole, the customer still has the dealership, still has the bigger chunk of the business.
What was that? I remember one of the episodes that we did, we were talking about most defections from the service drive happen with tires.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest one, for sure.
Well,
but that's a perception misunderstanding. The customer thinks that they're going to pay more for tires at a dealership than they do at the independents, and that's not true. If you match apples to apples, I'm talking about speed rating, all that stuff, tire tread, all the things that go into a tire, then the dealership is pretty competitive. But what happens is that the customer defects. The customer
been told by a service writer at a dealership to go to a mom and pop shop for my tire.
That's ridiculous. They don't know what they're talking about. Because here's what happens. You can go to a mom and pop tire shop and get a better deal. No question about it. But you're going to get an S rating when you should have a V rating. And then what's going to happen? Your car's going to shake. And then you're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with my car? And you're going to take it to the dealership. And the dealership's going to see that, and they're going to be like, you have the wrong tires. And you're going to say, the dealership is crazy. They're just trying to sell me shit. And they're not. They're not trying to sell you shit. It's just your car is made for a V speed rating, like a 95 V speed rating, and not an S rating. You know?
Okay.
That's just those are the things that customers don't know, and they don't know what they're talking about, and they're just looking at price, and they're ignorant consumers. That's what it comes down to.
A V speed rating.
Like, for example, if you have like a high performing vehicle, you're going to need a V speed rating, right? That's just that means that the tire is probably going to be lower profile. It's going to be closer to the ground. It's going to wear out quicker, but the rubber itself is going to be higher. It's going to be stronger. Not higher, stronger. And it's not going to wear up as fast. Whereas if you have like I'm sorry?
I said I just learned that tires have plies.
Yes, you're going to have plies. So for example, like your steel belts, like if you see a tire that has a dent in the middle of the sidewall, that means that the steel belts, that's where the steel belts connect, right?
Maybe we found a new job for her.
No,
old job for her.
I like, this is my shit. Like I know my stuff, man. So that's where the steel belts connect in the tire. It doesn't mean that the tire is defective, but if you have a Kelly brand versus a Continental, for example, that's going to be a significantly different tire. You know, like Discount Tire is famous for siping your tires for you. Like you don't have to sipe the tire. You know what I mean? Like Michelin spends already thousands of pounds, not even thousands, millions of dollars a year to make sure that your tire is what it needs to be to grip on the road and all that stuff. Why do you need to sipe it more? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
So Terry, I don't know if you know this, but if you haven't picked up on this, Herb started out as a service in the service department.
Yes.
Nice. That's good. Good training.
So for sure.
That's his.
Anyways, so here's another question I had for you, and it kind of ties back into what we were talking about earlier. But if I was a dealership and I came to you and we were having a conversation, I said, Terry, I want a package that just right now, while we're in downturn, allows me to sell more cars. What would you offer and why? And it doesn't just have to be reflective to the call center, just in general. Like, give me a strategy as a dealership decision maker that allows me to sell more vehicles.
Well, it'd be a little bit twofold. First of all, I would make sure that I have the right lenders dealer agreement signed so I could loan money to the people that are buying cars right now, which are people that have lower credit scores. Then I would make sure that my inventory matches my customer base, meaning the type of inventory to get to the payments that your customers can afford based on the lender.
Hey folks, we're upgrading here. Just FYI.
I need to go get.
Come on, Terry. Like, I'm so disappointed in your drinking.
I got to drink another. You
got 2 beers. I got 4 beers and a bottle of champagne.
I need to see the final cut before you release it. But what I was saying before I was saying,
right,
is inventory management, bank lender management, and then service. You know, those 3 things are going to help dealers stay profitable in this type of economic.
Okay, but let's focus on the lending side because that's a big one. What can dealers do now to prepare for that. That's a huge.
They got to look at their lenders, and they got to make sure that they have low credit score lenders ready to do business with their clients, but they've got to make that inventory match that high interest rate customer that can afford that payment, because people are payment buyers, let's face it. And so you've got to be able to put the lender and the customer together so they can afford that payment. You know, over the last few years, you were able to get these crazy ass rates, and those rates aren't available, and those banks aren't available to handle low credit score customers. So you've got to make sure you've got a good book of lenders that can handle that type of customer, and you've got to get your inventory set up to be able to take care of that customer at that particular payment range. That's been the biggest heart down right now is a customer that wants a $40,000 truck. Interest rates at 0, 1, 2, 3% are a lot different at 7, 8, 9, 10%.
Oh, for sure.
And so it takes them out of that market for that $40,000 truck. But at the end of the day, because I have 30 years experience and I've seen it up and down and down and up and up and down, and the resilience of a car dealer and the banking and the OEM business, it's going to do what it needs to do to make sure they can still keep retailing new and used vehicles.
Do you think that we robbed the future during the pandemic or not?
Do you think what?
That we robbed the future during the pandemic or not?
We definitely pulled customers through. But again, every year new buyers graduate high school. Credit bank companies give 18-year-old kids credit to go out and get in debt. And we prey on those. Listen, I used to, you're talking about business dev. I was calling high schools. I was calling high school kids. First time, Mazda had a first time credit buyer. Liberty Bank, a local bank in Oklahoma City, loved loaning high school grads their first car. I don't know why, but they loved it. So they're going to figure out how to loan money to people that give their cars back because they're too buried, and they're going to put them in a new ride. They're going to do that.
How do we do that? That's a big one. There's a lot of that shit going on, dude. A lot. Like you're in a car and you're freaking 20 grand upside down. How do you pull somebody out of that?
Well, you don't tell them, go give that car back and come back.
Yeah, a lot of these customers are going to have to go to term on their loans, or they're going to have to give that car up because they're so freaking buried. It's terrible. Our industry's done it forever and ever. If you're too dude. But during the pandemic, that was like 1,000 times.
Do you think that the OEMs will come up with some kind of incentive program?
They can't
to address that.
Yeah. Well, they do all the time. That's what
some bank somewhere bought that paper at that price. So how are you gonna? There's no incentive unless maybe if you're through the captive of that specific
or like $5,000 cash back.
Well, so here's what they already do, and they've been doing it for decades. It's market adjustment. A new F-150 in September, you're not going to get anything on it, but you get all the way to June, July of next year, now you got $10,000 off. That's called a market adjustment. They're going to do the same thing. That market adjustment might be 15, 20 grand to get you out of that barrage and put you in to a new one. But that market adjustment's coming. 0%, from the factory meant that the Ford was loaning money for 72 months at no interest, right? 0%. So who paid Ford Motor Credit to be able to do that? The incentive came from the factory. The factory incentivized their lender to give 0%.
But here's the thing, and I'm just going to talk. You guys can correct me if you think that I'm wrong, and keep me honest.
Oh, I will.
You're never wrong, Herb. Especially 4 Budweisers down.
No, dude, 4 and a bottle of champagne.
Now you're drinking wine. Holy moly!
Yeah, I thought Texans were tough, but I don't know. I guess not.
Man, you're so racist.
Racist.
So correct me, keep me honest here, but
it's like
let's just be real. Let's be real.
It is.
If
it's
in this market
where he's at.
And he left. He's like, fuck you. I'm not listening to your bullshit anymore.
You said we're being real.
Oh shit! There we go. There we go.
Call me a Texan.
Now we're talking. Now it's a drunken podcast.
Now shit can get real.
Okay, so here's my question to you, and I'm gonna keep it super real. In this market, if you can get a 2%, 3%, 1%, or whatever, 0%, that's because the car, they're taking you in on the deal, right? Because
what do you mean taking you in?
They're charging way more for that car than it's worth, because that rate doesn't exist.
To do that?
Yes,
it's and/or. You take 3.9, you don't get a discount. You don't take the 3.9, you take 8 or 9 at your own bank or another lender, and you get the discount. It's either or. Right. It's totally legal.
No, I know it's legal, but I'm just saying, like, if I was a customer knowing what I know, and somebody said, "Hey, you can get 3% interest," I'll be like, "No, dude, I know what you're doing."
Well,
I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah, but you would know what they were doing because you're in the industry,
right? But that's why I'm saying it on the podcast. Like I'm talking about those situations where that does happen, and the customers that are financially savvy, they're gonna be like, "Dude, this dealership is fucking taking me for a run."
Oh, no. Go back to options menu, Mr. Customer. You got 0.9%, 60 months. You don't get the $10,000 rebate. If you decide that you'd rather have the $10,000 rebate, then we'll run you through our banks, probably get you 7, 8, 9%. Up to you. You pick. Now, you do the math for the customer, and you can tell them that the difference between $10,000 off the sticker at 8% or not $10,000 off the price at 0.9%. So you can educate your consumer and let them choose. Now, I'll tell you, my first ex-wife, she had to buy a truck 30 days ago, and I helped her buy the truck.
You did?
Jeep. And she'll be laughing. I've had a couple. I'm an experienced marriage guy. They were offering $11,000 off or 0%. The smart money is to take the $11,000 off and then go to your credit union and pay a little more in rate, because when the rates drop, you can refinance the car and get the cheaper rate, but you can never get that $11,000.
But you can't refinance. Okay, so let's talk about that, because that's a little bit not true, right? You can only refinance. No, but you can't, because the customer thinks when we say those things that they can refinance the deal. You can only refinance up to the value of the car. Right? If you're underwater 30 grand and the car is worth 50 and it's 80 on paper, you can only refinance 50. You can't refinance the 30 that it's over or that you're under on.
Well, it's going to depend on your credit and your lender, but you're right. If you take that $11,000 and go pay 7%, then you're going to be in a better equity position than if you don't. What I'm saying, if you don't have negative equity and you take the 11 grand off the price, you're in a better place.
If you don't have negative equity, then yes, but that's not the situation that's happened post-pandemic.
Well, right. They've got to take the 11 grand.
90% of the people that bought during the pandemic are fucked.
Now, the other thing that's happening in the
but let's. Do you agree or disagree? If you bought during the pandemic, you're fucked, right? Yes or no?
Well, I hate to. I mean, no, I don't agree with that, because.
Oh, come on, man! Come on!
Being fucked is a state of mind, bro.
I said 90%. I didn't say 100%.
Being fucked is a state of mind.
Absolutely, I agree.
What's
with
a state of mind?
On that one.
Being fucked is a state of mind. You see, if I'm driving in my brand new Corvette and I'm $30,000 buried, but I'm a happy, good-looking son of a gun, I ain't being fucked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree with that, because I know that I bought my Wrangler for way more than it's going to be worth in 5 years.
Yeah, but you're stuck in that deal, so don't expect to go sell it.
Herb, a good deal is a state of mind, Herb. A good deal is a state of mind, brother.
No, okay. I'll bite. I agree.
A happy customer is gonna spend the money.
I'll tell you a story. I went and bought I thought I stole this in Oklahoma. I thought I stole this Yukon, and I was proud of it. I drive up, got my cowboy hat on, ready to go honky tonkin'. And my buddy, Darren Mabe, he's a wholesaler. He said, man, good looking Yukon. What'd you get for it? I said, 21.9, man. I stole it. He said, damn, I just seen 15 of those go through the ring for 19.2. I immediately went from here to going, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Because my state of mind was I got a great deal. And then he said that to me, and I just got fucked. So now he was kidding, but he still twisted me up because, first I thought I stole it. I'm in a great state of mind. And then he said that, and I said, son of a bitch.
Okay. I'll bite. I agree. But here's a scenario that's going to happen. Anybody that bought a car in 2020 that goes to the dealership next year to try to get out of that car, what's going to happen to them?
They're going to feel like they got fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. But let's hang on a second, because I like the perspective that Terry is giving. It is a matter of being positive or negative when you're talking to your customer. And this goes back to the conversation about the way that we talk to people on the phone. Whenever I think about the way that we talk to people on the phone.
Hell yeah. That's my homie right there.
That's what we got to do, folks.
Yes, sir.
I think about this experience that I had where I listened to a sales associate talking to a customer who was looking for a specific hybrid vehicle. And the customer said, or the sales guy said, well, good luck finding that. That was the conversation that they had. So they immediately created a negative experience for the customer. So let's fast forward to a year from now, 2 years from now, when these customers who did buy their vehicles, knowingly buy their vehicles for $5,000-$10,000,
but they didn't knowingly.
Hang on,
they didn't knowingly.
They knew that they were buying it for over $5,000.
They did not. They knew that they were buying the car for more money, but they always think in the back of their mind that the dealership is going to save them. I mean, let's just be real.
So, all right. So in the back of their mind, they think the dealership is going to save them. So let's say they walk into the dealership in a year from now. And the sales associate says, you bought a vehicle during COVID. Okay, let's go. Let's play this game. Or the sales associate says, you bought a vehicle during COVID? Oh, man. I don't know if there's anything I can do for you.
You won't even get to the.
They're gonna be like,
everything.
Here's how the new call goes.
You told me when I bought this car that this car was gonna appreciate and I was gonna be able to get out of it and not to worry.
And it's about the perspective that the sales associate gives to the customer when they walk into the dealership.
Hear me out. This is what's going to happen. The manager is going to come to the BDC and cuss all of you BDC it's out. Mm-hmm. Do not bring these people to the dealership. They can't buy. Mm-hmm. The salesperson is going to say, when did you buy the car? Oh, 2020. Well, folks, probably can't help you. Did you pay cash or did you borrow money?
Right.
They're going to pre-qualify that customer. Mm-hmm. And so
if we want to be able to mitigate that, if we want to be able to stop that, then it goes back to what Terry said about managers being unmanaged. We've got to be able to train our sales associates and our management teams to be able to have conversations with those customers that are not, we robbed you 3 years ago. It's okay. Let's do this. Let's play. Let's roll.
We didn't rob
anybody. Let's conquer this hill.
We didn't rob anybody. Nobody put a gun to anybody's head and said, you got to buy it.
Right,
I wouldn't say that.
What I would tell you is the proper way to handle customers that are going to be majorly buried. Listen, I sold Dodge Caravans and Dodge Neons. I mean, I sold a Ford Tempo to a lady and charged her $28,000. I did some bad things that I'm going to answer for.
Those are not bad things, man. If the customer buys the car at that level, they have the perception of value.
She had a wow perception. She loved me. She brought me food, but she still paid $28,000 for a Tempo that might have been worth $12,000. But here's the reality. You got to figure out how to help those customers, whether it be that they have cash down or maybe they need to leave that car in the parking lot and come on in and buy another car. I mean, you got to figure out how to help these customers because they're going to want another car here soon, and you can't just tell them to go pound bricks. So there's going to be some.
And you've got to be able to Right. You've got to be able to do that with a positive mentality, or you're going to create animosity.
Wait. Let's pause here for a second because
there's
I don't
going to be
like
OEM help.
Going.
Where are you going? You got to go to the bathroom, get another drink. I mean, where are you going?
No. I'm just saying, like, I will get another drink here in a minute, but I'm just saying, like, it's not. I'm not a believer that. Look, the retail side of the operation doesn't rob anybody. You pay the perception of value. The happiest customers that I've ever seen in my life are the customers that overpay. They're happy as shit. They're so happy. They don't complain. The people that underpay, that you do all this shit to help them out, are the ones that fuck you over on the CSI and all that shit. So to Terry's point earlier, that's a state of mind. My issue right now is that there's a lot of that stuff. We have to be realistic as leaders in the industry, right? Decision makers in the industry. You can't expect for the next 2 years to be amazing like in the COVID years when you robbed the future. And you have to accept that, hey, I did rob the future, and the next couple of years are going to be rough. And just accept that and be like, listen, I'm going to do everything in my power to mitigate that situation because I had 2 or 3 years of great profits, high volume, all this stuff. And the next couple of years are going to suck. And if we can all agree on that, then we're on a good footing. You say no. Why?
I say because you can look at it from a positive perspective.
The same way I'll tell you is a good deal is a state of mind. The next 2 years is a state of mind. You could
absolutely
take an attitude that it's going to suck, or you could say, man, this is awesome because it has to be. What are you going to do? Go to work every day? Today sucks, everybody. Let's go do our job.
That. I'm not saying that either, but you have to be realistic. It's like the stock market. Some days you're up, some days you're down, and you just, you take your chips where they lie. I'm not saying you stop pushing for excellence.
I need to go tie a rock to my leg and jump into my pool right now.
You got to keep on that path, but you got to understand what's what.
Make America great again is what I'm saying.
Terry, how many have you had? 3?
On an empty stomach.
I'm in
my intermittent fasting.
No, stop it. Dude, I've had 6 beers, and I want you to tell people that are tuning into this 2 hours into this, because if they're in here 2 hours and 26 minutes into this, they're committed.
They don't have a job.
They're committed. So how are you going to help them sell more cars? Because that's what all decision makers care about.
Now, I've been with Charity, and she's called dealerships, and they're terrible. I don't know what else to say to you. If you're asking me from my business perspective, if I'm consulting with a car dealer, and hey, how am I going to help you sell more cars? I want to be the first. I want your dealership to be the first person to answer a customer's inquiry, giving them a great experience, great answers, and inviting them to your dealership for a great experience. That's how I'm going to help you sell more.
Well, absolutely. So I think that that's the important part right there, Terry, is that the time that it takes you to get to the customer needs to be really fast as possible. But if you get to that customer and then you're absolute shit on the phone, then you're just making a problem. You have to be speed to lead. I love the way that you said that. And then you've got to be quality. You've got to be able to sell your dealership and have your why buys ready, and to have a call to action ready for your customer.
Let's talk about this for a second, because that's a good one. And I'm a little inebriated right now, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing because it's real. So here's the thing that I hear a lot, and I want to get your perspective on, and that's the whole, well, I don't like to use call centers because they're too aggressive. They're too aggressive.
Bring it on. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Be.
No, but I know. Like, I agree with you, but I'm just saying, like, I want Terry to explain that portion. Like, what would you say to a decision maker that's like, hey, you're too aggressive and I don't want to alienate my customers, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So again, I got to go back to Experience Development Center because that's what I know. And I also know a lot of other call centers. Most call centers across the country pay a small monthly or hourly fee, and then they bonus their agents on appointment sets. And maybe BDCs do the same damn thing. They pay them on a set, and then they pay them on a delivery. Well, our call center agents, first of all, are trained on our mission, but they get paid on quality. We have a quality scorecard on every call, every agent, and they get paid on quality. They have to have a very high score for them to get a bonus, hit their bonus levels on quality of call, which is very important. So most of, if I give you a reference to Britton Chevrolet in Greenville, Texas, they're not only going to tell you that we bend over backwards from them to try to help their system, their process better from a managerial standpoint of view, but when they help their customers and their customers love the experience that they got from the call, that makes their job even easier. So I'm not a commercial here. All you got to do is look into it. Herb, I've had conversations. Want more appointments. And I'll tell you, you just said it. Dealers are like, man, call center's too aggressive. Well, you have a fine line between having quality and quantity, but you have to train that.
Yes.
It's important to be determined to get the customer in. It's also important to do a great match back, because we now know that a customer that can't commit to an appointment may show up a week later and buy from you. So it's fair to say that you might have some people coming in that you spoke with that just didn't confirm an appointment that may come on in, stop by, and meet a salesman and buy something. But I love the question, what would I do to help a car dealer sell more cars today? And it all has to do with communication and inventory. And, we know that they're going to be some very folks out there.
That's why I want to bring it up, because a lot of the decision makers that I talk to, when it comes to outsourcing their BDCs, or what XDC does, is they're concerned, right, that they're not going to be as pleasant, like they like to talk about it, as they would be. But I'm like, fuck that shit, dude. You want to be aggressive. You're going to alienate some customers for sure, but who gives a shit, right? At the end of the day,
you were going to alienate those customers anyway.
Right, but at the end of the day, you want to set up as many appointments as you want. And to your earlier comment, the speed in which you respond to the customers is critical in the digital age that we live in today.
100%.
Because that customer is on their phone, they get this, they get that, they hear the radio, they do all these other things, and the sooner you can respond to their inquiry, the better chance you have of getting that customer into your showroom. And if you don't have the customer there, you're fucked. So what are we talking about here? Be as aggressive as possible, and I'm more for the fact that you may alienate some customers as opposed to having customers inquire about a car and losing the opportunity to make that deal.
Herb, can you say alienate 3 times fast, Herb?
Alienate.
So one of the things that I think is really ironic is when your management team will come into a BDC and say, we want you to be aggressive, but not too aggressive. And we want you to talk to the customer about the inventory, but not actually talk to the customer about the inventory. If you're not going to walk up to a sales guy and say you're being too aggressive, but for whatever ungodly reason, we say that to BDC agents. We have, there's a social etiquette that goes with talking on the phone that it's just this underlying etiquette that we all live by that we don't live by if we're talking to the customer in person. And we don't even realize that we're doing that. And the moral of the story is you want your agents to be aggressive on the phone. You want them to be aggressive on the phone. If that customer hangs up, okay, move on to the next one. You do not want passive agents on the phone, because you get one chance on the phone, one chance. And the second that customer hangs up, you're done. There is no going back from that moment. So you want that customer to be aggressive, or that agent to be aggressive enough to hook the customer, hold the customer, and convert the customer as fast as they can and aggressively as they can, and then move on to the next one. And they need to do it in 3 goddamn minutes. There's nothing more aggressive than that.
So even if you took the word aggressive out and used the word confidence, we listen to a lot of calls. We look for wow calls. We score our call center every call. And,
hey, folks, I just want to say, like, I am on 6 beers.
You got a new bottle.
A whole bottle of champagne.
Wrap this up.
I can't even.
And I just opened another bottle of wine, which is almost done already because this mug is huge. And Terry has had 3 beers. Okay, so I have another question for Mr. Terry Mack. But at this level, I feel that you should be like very, very honest. And we'll share everything with you before it goes live, so you can approve it.
I'm always honest.
Okay, so
I'm always retail ready. By the way,
I like that answer. You know, a lot of salespeople make the humongous mistake of saying, "If I'm being honest," and I'm always like, "So you're not
to be honest." To be honest, what do you mean? You wouldn't being honest? I hate
that. Like you're typically not honest. Is that what you're telling me? So what do you think from your perspective? Like now, I mean, we're 2 hours and 30 minutes into this conversation. High level, 50,000 view. What is the biggest issue, or not issue, but mismanaged situation that happens from a call center, BDC center, all that stuff? Like, what is the thing that dealers are missing the most? I have my opinions, but I want to get yours and Charity's perspective, and then I'll share mine. Go.
Well, I would tell you. So a dealer comes out with a plan every month, and this is where they're going to go. They're advertising. You got their advertising plan. They don't share it with their team. So your BDC, your managers, your receptionists, nobody knows anything about what's really going on in the digital and in the TV and the radio and the print. So it's all broken. And so you also have a disconnect, as Charity said, between the BDC and the salespeople. They're always fighting because, again, broken process, broken pay plans. They don't work together. But frankly, being able to have the communication portal path of what's going on, what we advertising, what do we say, what do we believe in, what's our mission statement, how do we want to take great care of our customers, does not start from the managers to the BDC team. It's always about get them in, get them in, get them in. There's stores out there that'll get a customer in, they don't even have the car anymore, and they'll run out there and go mark it sold. Oh gosh, we just sold it, but I got 3 more like it. All this crap is crap, and it destroys our industry. When you could certainly say, you know what, I don't know if that vehicle's been sold, but I got 3 more like it. Would you still like to stop by? I'll make you a great deal. Yes. And so you can always do the right thing when the wrong thing is easier.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, write that down. But I not even use that speed to lead. But listen, I've been doing this a long time, and I forgot more than I can just say things, and all of a sudden I use it. But if you were asking me to write it down, I don't have it written somewhere. Just this is the way I was taught. And I worked in the same market that the guy you wrote a great article on. I worked in that market. That store has long history of wrongdoing.
So you should have said that.
Not to go there, because you had 3 bottles and five cans. But what I will say, and Herb, you've known me a little while now, over a year, and even from day one when I met you, you're a hard-hitting guy. You don't mince words. You want the truth, the hard truth, nothing but the truth. And that's the way I've always been. I've lost great opportunities because people can't handle the goddamn truth. And,
listen, I'll be the first to admit that being direct with some folks is the easiest way to lose favor. But I wouldn't want to have it any other way.
Listen, I'm 54, so there's not a lot of people raising their hand wanting to hire an old guy, so I have to be a little more clever. But I will tell you, in the marketing world, one thing I learned from a smart guy a long time ago: if your stuff's not working, put the dealer's face on it, and he can't fire himself. So I'm always trying to get people to put their face on what we're doing because they can't fire themselves. Yeah. Not so fast. Those are little tiny skill sets that I've learned throughout my career, but nothing ever happens great without great communication. And so we get back to the call center, and we get back to training, and we get back to what it really is. is communication. I'll give you a quick example of the 10 steps to the sale or the 12 steps to the sale. Customer walks in, hey, how you doing? Can I help you? Nope, I'm just looking. So stop asking that question. Hey, folks, how you doing? I'm Terry. Let me show you what you're here to work with. Okay?
I'm sorry, man.
Let me finish. So if you manage the customer's expectation, you get a better result. You get a high D customer in. All he wants is he don't want to listen. Hey, let me tell you what our process here is. Bang, 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 bang. And now they know what they can expect. They're more comfortable. They have less anxiety, and you can get through your steps.
Yeah, but I have to interject here. I just don't believe that is – I think the 12 steps or 10 steps or 20 steps, whatever that was back in the day, is just fucking ludicrous in 2023. The customer is doing 14 plus hours of research before they ever get to your store. In most of the cases, wait, let me finish. The customer is going to know more than the salesperson that's talking to the customer.
I think Terry and I are both
let me finish. Wait. So listen, let me finish and then you can interject. So I don't think that the road to the sale is something that's applicable in today's world. I think that the conversation that we need to be having with our customers that come to our dealership is a discovery conversation.
Herb, we're going to discover my steps to the sale. Herb, let me ask you, let me take you a little further back, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Did you learn how to walk first or did you crawl?
Crawl.
Ooh, I love that.
Wait. Let Terry do his thing.
Perspective.
Wait, let Terry do his thing. Okay, I crawled first. Crawled.
Okay, so a process is like crawling, and then from a crawl, you kind of get up, you fall, and then you learn how to walk. So
but it's not. It's not, because here's the differentiation. Tell me what step 3 is in the road to the sale.
So you have the meet and greet, right? There's step 1, right? Hello, how are you? I'm Terry. Okay. Thanks here. Okay.
Yeah.
Step 2 is finding out what the customer's needs are, building rapport.
Okay. Wait, stop. Wait. Okay. And 3?
Step 3 is taking them to the inventory and doing a demonstration. Well,
okay.
Demo is another step, but
okay. So you're there. You're at the inventory. So you did your meet and greet, and you did your discovery, and now you're at the inventory, right?
Yep.
You don't have any single car that I like. What happens now?
Well, during my discovery, I would find if I have anything that you might like.
But you don't have it. You don't have it. So
I don't have anything you might like.
You don't have anything that I would like.
Okay,
then what?
Let's stop there for a second.
Wait, stop. No. Just wait a second. Wait a second. I'm trying to prove a point here.
I know what point you're trying to prove, and I'm going to go back.
Stop. Just stop. Stop. So you don't have the car that I want. Then what?
It's not just wants. It's wants and needs.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just please stop for a second. Terry, I don't have the car. You don't have the car that I want.
Hey, I go get a TO. Mr. Manager, I got Herb here. He's a great guy. He came to see us. We don't have inventory that he's interested in. I'd like to introduce you to him before I blow his ass out of here and go get another one.
You're not going to say that.
Not in front of you, but I will.
You're going to TO me, right? And then hope that your closer or your manager can save the deal. But you're not going to save the deal because you don't have what I want. And that's my point. Like, if you're talking to the customer from a human perspective, before you even try to show me cars, you're going to be like, listen, man, based on our conversation, I don't have what you want. But here's what I can do. I can go look for it. And then when I have it, I can call you and let you know, hey, I got what you want, or I have this. Here are some photos. Here's some pricing. Here's the stuff. But in the real world, if you're being honest, and I'm being honest, and we're all being honest, in the real world, the fucking desk manager is going to kick you in the balls.
Hey,
because it's going to be like, you're fucking weak. You suck.
Let me ask you, Herb. What's your favorite go-to food?
Pizza.
You got a favorite place that you go eat pizza at?
I do.
So you go there and they're my favorite pizza place. Have you ever ordered anything else other than your favorite food, pizza, at that place?
Of course I have.
So I'll tell you that 75% of the people that go to a dealership looking for a car are leaving a truck. So I will tell you that what you're saying can happen, but a good salesperson is going to say, listen, I realize I don't have exactly what you want, but can I show you a couple of options in case you change your mind? And then you get out there and you get them to fall in love with something totally different than what they came there for, and they drive off the lot with something they didn't expect that they would. That happens a lot. People come in for a truck, leaving a car. People come in for a car, leaving a truck.
One of the greatest mistakes that salespeople make when they are trying to be salespeople and then they fail at being salespeople is because they feel like they have some kind of moral obligation to tell the customer that what they have is not going to work for that customer. And there is nothing that is going to give you a worse buying experience than a salesperson telling you that they don't have what you want. I walked into your dealership. I went to the effort of coming there. Your job is to convince me to buy from you. And if you can't do that, you better goddamn be right. Then I'm going to walk to the next dealership down the road and I'm going to let them convince me. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. We ask everybody that comes on the show.
Hey, it's an age-old question. Every month, every year, they ask themselves the same thing, just a different environment. And I've said it earlier, you got to train the heck out of your contact personnel, the people that are in contact with your customer base and your potential customer base. You got to be determined on how you want, what are you trying to achieve on that contact. And you got to have the right inventory and the right lenders to take care of customers in this environment. You've got to be skilled to let the customer buy the car the way they want to purchase a car today, because there's options out there. And you got to be first to the lead. Speed to lead is so critical because, listen, customers are spending all this time online and they're inquiring and they're doing this, that, and the other. And whoever they start having a conversation with somebody that has confidence, they don't have to have all the knowledge. They've got to have the confidence, and they've got to be aggressive enough to invite the customer in for a coffee or a Coke, sit down, learn more about what they're interested in, and try to deliver the goods. And that's people that can do that in this environment can win, whether it's sales or service.
Thank you very much for watching Dealer Talk Podcast. This is all for today. And as usual, we will talk later.
We only host a well-respected. The vendor LexisNexis. We don't sell digital marketing. What you do? We inspect it with our DT vendor management.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust 4Eyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try 4Eyes for free, visit 4eyes.io/dealertalk. That's 4eyes.io/dealertalk.